Hi everyone, it's Sandia, and I just wanted to share these thoughts with you about pressure in the New Thought movement in that context of manifestation. But it can apply to any scenario, in business, in your home, in terms of your goals and objectives. So really, it applies to any scenario in your relationships. What kind of pressure are you applying to the system being you? So we all put ourselves under, we regulate ourselves under a certain amount of pressure. So we've got to achieve X, Y, Z by a certain amount of time. If I do this technique tonight or overnight, if I hear this particular tape overnight, or if I try this tactic tomorrow, or if I go for this course, I should be at this level or feel a certain way tomorrow or in 3 days' time or next week. And that's a lot of pressure, that's a lot of pressure. So it can be good pressure or bad pressure. And the trick is to really start using your own level self-regulating, part of self-regulation, and not going to externals for validation. Part of getting the answers inside of yourself is using your own discernment. So with your own discernment, you need to decide whether that's good pressure or that's bad pressure. So I've myself, for example, in my learning curve, I've applied intense amount of pressure these past couple of weeks to feel a certain way and feel better and try certain tactics to get better. And with whatever I'm going through, for example, I need to really put, if I do these particular things, it should equal to this. Last year, for example, in my business, I was under an enormous amount of pressure that I decided to apply on myself to achieve certain goals in a new business that I had started. And I didn't give enough time for myself and for the people that mattered around me, my family, etc. And I couldn't create a balance because I was coming from a place of fear, because in my mindset I was applying time in my equation to pressure, because in this amount of time the opportunity is there and the opportunity will close business wise. So I need to really, really work hard in order to maximize on the industrial opportunity. And in this particular case, sorry, my dog giving me nuts. In this particular case, that was talking to my belief in abundance. So I was lacking in my belief for abundance, because really that source of abundance is infinite. There's no in true abundance. And if you read the New Thought authors of the 18th century, Napoleon Hill and the people before him, Think and Grow Rich, if you buy into that mindset, then you're not really understanding true abundance, because there's no end to that supply. It's an infinite supply. There is no competition in that equation. There is no competition. There's an infinite amount of resources to attain what you want. So my belief was needed to be tuned up. It needed to be leveled up, in terms of what I was doing. So I was applying pressure based on a belief that I thought I had fixed it, and I thought that I was abundant, but I was still buying into the thinking that there's a certain amount of time and that resource, that opportunity is going to shut down. So I applied an enormous amount of pressure on my system. And earlier this year, I was going through some personal crisis, and I was applying an enormous amount of pressure this entire year in terms of new thought modalities, new thought techniques, trying this technique, that technique, to feel better, to grow myself, to push myself. And it was coming from a place of anxiousness and anxiety, etc. So you got to examine, where is that pressure coming from? Is it coming from a good place? It's coming from a bad place. Is it coming from a place that's inspiring action, and what kind of action is it inspiring? Because if it's good pressure, then you should be positively moved. Your action should be positively moved, and you should be feeling good about that particular pressure and that action. So in that example, you should be inspired and creative, and those are the other states that you want to achieve, as opposed to, inspired as opposed to motivated, because motivated sounds hard and it's got connotations of being difficult. And with good pressure, there sometimes comes patience. Patience as opposed to endurance, because endurance is a struggle. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. Endurance is a bit of a struggle, as opposed to patience comes with faith and with trust. So that's good pressure, when your patience and pressure, there's a juxtaposition between the two. So carefully look at what kind of pressure you're building up on the system, and decide when you want to put the brakes on that pressure if it's coming from a bad place. You really, really have to examine yourself and really think about where is that pressure coming from, because all your actions, all your energy is channeled and directed towards that. Your thoughts, your words, your deeds. That's a lot of time spent that could be misdirected. And that can affect your health. It can affect your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. And that can be very destructive very quickly. So do a self-examination about where that pressure is coming from. If it's good pressure, it should feel good. You shouldn't be feeling bad. You shouldn't be feeling guilty that you haven't done a certain thing. You haven't applied yourself properly. You haven't, you're running out of time. You're running out of money. You've got to act fast. You've got to know if that's where you're coming from, then you've got to stop. You've got to apply the brakes, take some time out, and examine where are you coming from. Okay, because really, in terms of resources, in terms of the true concept of time, particles, wave, where the waves, read up on how energy moves and how it shifts, particle versus wave, and relative to the observer, and how time is really, really being examined. Look at the teachings of Joe Dispenza, look at Napoleon Hill, Joseph Murphy, read up on the greats, Florence Scovel Shinn, Vladim Zealand. Look at the different concepts around time and infinite resources, and how to build your reality, and start teaching yourself, training yourself on these concepts, because we've been taught incorrectly from mainstream education and from birth, in terms of how to manage ourselves, how to manage our resources. So now we're these adults who have these, and we've built these perceptions based on the incorrect feedback that's been given to us. Now we have to try to figure this out. And we've got families, and we've got kids, and we've got jobs, and we've got girlfriends and boyfriends and friends and parents, and our lives are so busy. We're busy acquiring, and things keep failing. We're going through divorces. We're going through, we're losing our businesses. We're going through separations. We're going through trauma, and then we're building up again, and then we're losing, and then we're building. We're just on this treadmill. So stop. Because you can hear now how busy that energy is and how crazy it is. And there's an enormous amount of pressure you put on yourself to be perfect and be a certain way and to feel a certain way. So it doesn't work that way. You have to look at where you're coming from. And once you start, that becomes a habit. When you start looking internally and getting your answers from inside of yourself, as opposed to my video or other videos, when you start going within, that's really where your true power lies. So take the brakes off. If you're doing anything that's resulting in you feeling bad, then something's wrong. Whether it comes from religion, your priest, a self-help book, science, your degree that you've learned, a psychologist, your best friend. I mean, I don't care. If anything is coming to you, or you applying this particular thing to yourself, and the result is that you feeling bad inside, or guilty, or regretful, or fearful, or panic, or anxiety, if that's the result, then stop. Put a big fat pause on it, and it's time to re-examine and check out what no longer serves you. Okay, so that's the message for today, and it really, really worked because I've done it. And then I just realized, oh my gosh, I was applying so much pressure on myself. I couldn't believe it. I was really in shock when I thought I knew what I was doing, and I thought, oh wow, I'm on the right track, and then I realized, hang on a second, that was bad pressure. What am I doing? I don't care what the end objective is. I need to stop. So it's a little neat trick, but good pressure versus bad pressure, using your own discernment, not others. That's the way to go. Bye. Take care. Love you.